Perron family's haunted farmhouse. Ed and Lorraine investigated the Perron family's farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, which was allegedly haunted by evil spirits. The Perron family, including Roger and Carolyn Perron and their 5 daughters, moved into a farmhouse in Harrisville in 1971, where they claimed to experience a series of paranormal events. The family reported seeing apparitions, hearing strange noises, and experiencing poltergeist activity, including objects moving and beds levitating. On August 22, 1973, Ed and Lorraine captured footage of Carolyn Perron, the family matriarch, allegedly becoming possessed by an evil spirit. The footage shows Carolyn's eyes rolling back, her voice changing, and her body contorting in unnatural ways. Andrea Perron, the oldest of the Perron children, said, "These were spirits who had an attachment to the property. 8 generations of one extended family had lived and passed at the farm, and some of them had never left. My mother did historical research and found that virtually every entity we were able to name had, as living beings, either passed by their own hand or passed so traumatic a passing and so sudden a passing that they actually didn't seem to know that they were even gone." The Perron family's experiences, along with the Warrens' investigation, served as the basis for the 2013 film The Conjuring, which dramatized the events, of course. Now, in real life, the Warrens' investigation of the Harrisville case came to an end when Roger Perron ordered them to get the heck out of the house after a very dramatic seance in which Carolyn began speaking a strange language and levitated out of her chair. Andrea Perron said the only time she was ever truly frightened was during the seance, and went on to continue to say that there are no words to adequately express that event. In the years following their investigations in Harrisville, the Warrens would look into many more alleged hauntings, but Ed said that he never forgot the time they spent with that family. Next up, we have the elusive White Lady of Union Graveyard. The White Lady is said to be the ghost of a woman named Elizabeth, who passed under very mysterious circumstances in the late 19th century. According to legend, Elizabeth was unalived by her husband, and her spirit has been seen wandering the cemetery dressed in a very long white gown. However, some believe she is actually Harriet Seeley, whose young son passed shortly after being born, and Harriet herself passing soon after. This legend believes she may have passed in hopes of finding her son and still wanders their final resting place searching him out. Now, others believe she is actually the ghost of a woman from the 1940s who unalived her husband and later herself and is doomed to wander the graveyard. So it's possible that she's these 3 different women. However, one thing that's for sure is that her physical description is the one thing that remains consistent. She is a young woman wearing a white dress with dark hair. Many who have witnessed her believe they have almost hit her with their vehicle, only to find no trace of her once they actually pull over. Others claim they have often seen her hovering slightly above the ground around the cemetery, going back and forth amongst different gravestones. Union Cemetery is actually located in Easton, Connecticut, and the Warrens investigated the cemetery in the 1970s and captured several photographs of her. Lorraine used to often take walks through the cemetery, saying that it was one of the most haunted places around. Ed and Lorraine believed the White Lady was a residual haunting imprinted on the location by the traumatic events surrounding the passing. Now, they compiled their findings into a 1992 book called Graveyard: True Hauntings from an Old New England Cemetery. Ed Warren, who also investigated the Amityville whorehouse, reportedly caught the White Lady in photographs as well as videos. Now, Lorraine Warren told NBC Connecticut in 2008 that the video evidence is so valuable she kept it locked away at their occult museum. The Smurl Haunting, the general story of the Smurls, is a familiar one about parents trying to find stability and just do what's best for their family. After they were displaced by Hurricane Agnes in 1972, Janet and Jack Smurl moved their family to the West Pittston home, and not long after, they claimed to have experienced uncanny incidents. Items would disappear, doors would open and close, toilets would flush, they'd lose sleep over growling noises and just horrific stenches. Now, over the years, the Smurls said that the paranormal attacks worsened. Jack claimed to have actually been SA'd by a spirit, and the entities attacked the children even the family dog. Eventually, after the Catholic Church kind of slow walked an investigation, the Smurls decided to go to the press, which created a media frenzy. Now, writing about the sensation for a 2016 Halloween story in Pittston Progress, reporter Jack Smiles actually summarized the immense media attention. After the Smurls went public with their, descriptions of what was happening in their modest half-double home on Chase Street in West Pittston, their story became a media phenomenon, going viral the old-fashioned way through print and television. Now, local and out-of-town stations and papers covered it widely. Wire Services stories ran in major dailies from New York to California, and in 1974, the Warrens investigated the Smurl family's home in West Pittston, which again was allegedly haunted by malevolent spirits. Now, the investigation was documented on audio and videotapes. On January 8th, 1975, Ed and Lorraine actually captured footage of a very mysterious, unexplained event during their investigation. The footage shows a strange glowing light moving around the Smurls' living room. The light is accompanied by unexplained noises and movements, and the footage was deemed actually too intense and too disturbing for public consumption. Ed Warren reportedly described the footage as one of the most frightening things that he's ever seen. In June 2017, Jack Smurl actually passed away. His family's history and story earned him rather lengthy bits in the local papers. Looking back, on the period of their lives that earned them international attention, Karen Smurl said of her father in the Citizen's Voice, "We had such a hard time and nobody to turn to. He was happy I was a voice out there for people who need help." Lastly, we have the Annabelle doll. Most of the movies set in the Conjuring universe, including Annabelle, are interestingly inspired by true events. The Conjuring movies are based on the case files of famed demonologist couple Ed and Lorraine Warren, who looked into numerous paranormal incidents, including the controversial true story of the Amityville haunting. One particular case, the Annabelle doll, has been the subject of 3 movies. All 3 films deal with a different event in the doll's timeline. So the Conjuring universe begins with the first movie, which focuses on Ed and Lorraine Warren investigating the paranormal case. Now, this follows the Warrens' investigation of the Annabelle doll featured in the movie. The doll actually received its own spin-off trilogy, which explored Annabelle's origin and the negative events that occurred when the Warrens took her. Since the franchise stretches the doll's story into 3 movies, the writers took creative liberties. Now, most of the films are fictionalized, however, small portions of the trilogy have come from the true story of Annabelle. The legend has it that a student nurse named Donna received the Annabelle doll as a gift from her mother in 1968. Donna and her roommate Angie began to notice strange paranormal occurrences. It would change positions unexpectedly, show up in different rooms of their apartment. The doll would also leave notes for the girls with messages like "help me" scribbled on them. They became very alarmed when they found red liquid dripping from the doll. Donna and her friend Angie had a medium take a look at it. The medium determined that the doll was possessed by the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins. Now, the girls contacted the Warrens, who concluded that the spirit haunting the doll was not a 7-year-old child. Instead, it was actually a demon who had fooled the girls. Now, the Warrens believed that the demon's goal was to acquire Donna's soul. The Warrens solved their problem by taking the doll with them, but they encountered continuous car trouble on the way back to their home. Now, the demon within the doll rejected an exorcism, and in the end, it was actually put in a glass case in the Warrens Occult Museum in Connecticut. However, in 2014, the museum started facing legal issues because it operated as a commercial property in a residential zone. The museum officially shut down to the public in 2019 after the passing of Lorraine Warren, raising questions about the current location of Annabelle. As of 2023, the doll is still located in the Warrens' collection at the house where the museum used to operate. Personally, the Smurl Haunting is the one that sends chills up my spine for me, but which one freaks you out the most? Let me know. Thanks for watching. I'm your host Ashley, and until next time, stay scared. Starting with the battered VHS tape, this story comes from a person on Reddit who claims that the story is true. It starts by them saying that one time in the mid to late 90s, they had a famous relative who would get a lot of fan mail, most of which was just photographs of their dogs, friendship pendants, etc. Not super weird stuff, but some a little creepy and almost stalkerish. Like, they said one day a padded envelope arrived and in it was a battered home movie tape with a handwritten label on it. Now, they said they never heard of the title, but considered themselves to be a movie buff, so thought that they would just give it a go. They said a few days later they were alone in the house for the night and they thought, what better time to watch this movie? So they locked the doors, got a blanket, made some popcorn, even their stuffed teddy, and pressed play. They said what followed was one of the most terrifying and traumatic experiences of their life.